April 1945. British forces liberate Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in northern Germany. Among the SS personnel captured are 37 women. Guards, administrators, and functionaries who had served the Nazi death machine. When Allied investigators begin interviewing these women, they're shocked by what they discover. Ordinary German women, some barely out of their teens, who had participated in systematic torture, murder, and genocide. One survivor, Gisela Perl, later testified about a female guard at Auschwitz. She would beat pregnant women in the stomach until they miscarried. She laughed while doing it. She was 23 years old. The question that haunted investigators then, and haunts us now, is, how did ordinary women become perpetrators of the Holocaust? This is not a story of heroism. This is not a story of unknown soldiers. This is a story of complicity, cruelty, and the darkest aspects of human nature. This is the story of women who served the Nazi SS apparatus and the crimes they committed. Before we begin, a clarification. Women did not serve in the Waffen SS combat units. The Waffen SS was exclusively male. Women served as SS auxiliaries, Aufseherinnen or female guards, primarily in concentration camps and extermination facilities. This distinction is important. This is their story. The system of female guards. Between 1942 and 1945, approximately 3,500 to 5,000 women served as concentration camp guards, Aufseherinnen, in the Nazi camp system. They were not members of the Waffen SS. They were auxiliary personnel, recruited specifically for guard duties, in concentration camps for women and children. Who were they? Demographics. Age, mostly 20 or 45 years old. Background, working class, rural areas. Education, typically elementary school. Only. Previous employment, factory workers, farm workers, shop assistants. Some unemployed, some seeking better pay. Not military trained, initially. Ideological fanatics, mostly. Upper class or educated elite career soldiers. Recruitment. The SS recruited female guards through several methods. 1. Employment offices. Women applied for guard positions at camps, often unaware initially of what this entailed. 2. Direct recruitment. SS personnel recruited at factories and farms, emphasizing good pay and housing. 3. Conscription, later war. By 1944-45, some women were assigned to guard duties through labor conscription. Pay and benefits. Female guards received better pay than factory work, 185 Reichsmarks monthly, versus 130 in factories. Housing and food uniforms. Social status and power. For working-class women in wartime Germany, this was attractive employment. Training. Training was minimal, typically 1 to 4 weeks at Ravensbrück concentration camp, which served as the training center for female guards. Training included camp regulations and procedures, use of whips and clubs, not firearms initially, hardening exercises, teaching guards to be cruel without emotion, ideological indoctrination, prisoners as subhuman. The training specifically attempted to break down normal human empathy and replace it with cruelty. The first guards. The system began in 1938-39 at Lichtenberg and then Ravensbrück, the main women's concentration camp. Early guards included Johanna Langefeld, chief overseer at Ravensbrück, later at Auschwitz. Established the brutal system of female guards. Later claimed she protected prisoners, disputed by survivors. Dorothea Burns started at age 19 as a guard, rose to chief overseer, known for extreme brutality, executed after the war. Maria Mondel, chief overseer at Auschwitz-Birkenau Women's Camp, directly responsible for selections, sending thousands to gas chambers, executed after the war. These women set the tone for the system. Absolute power, systematic cruelty, and participation in genocide. How did ordinary women become torturers and murderers? Factor 1. Authority and orders. Guards operated within a system where cruelty was expected and rewarded. Kindness was punished. One former guard testified post-war, "If we didn't beat prisoners, we were punished ourselves. We had to be hard." This is partially true. Guards who showed mercy were reassigned or punished. But many guards exceeded requirements, suggesting more than just following orders. Factor 2. Dehumanization. Nazi ideology taught that prisoners, especially Jews, Poles, Roma, and political prisoners, were subhuman, Untermenschen. Guards were trained to see prisoners as things, not people. This made cruelty psychologically easier. Factor 3. Power. Many female guards came from powerless positions in society, poor, working class, limited opportunities. Suddenly, they had absolute power over hundreds or thousands of people. This power corrupted completely. Psychologists studying the guards noted many displayed sadistic tendencies that the system enabled and encouraged. Factor 4. Social conformity. Within the guard culture, cruelty was normal. Guards competed to be the hardest, the most feared. Showing mercy was weakness. New guards were initiated through witnessing and then participating in violence, creating complicity that made leaving psychologically difficult. Factor 5. Alcohol and desensitization. Many guards drank heavily to cope with what they did. This further reduced inhibitions and moral constraints. Over time, acts that initially shocked them became routine. Murder became a job. This section documents specific crimes committed by female guards. Content is extremely disturbing, but historically necessary. Female guards served primarily at Ravensbrück, primary women's concentration camp, Germany. 130,000 prisoners passed through, 30,000, 50,000 murdered. Auschwitz-Birkenau. Women's section had approximately 200 female guards, hundreds of thousands murdered. Bergen-Belsen, holding and death camp. Female guards participated in systematic starvation and neglect. Majdanek, Stutthof, Neuengamme, Mauthausen. Various camps with women's sections, dozens of subcamps. Smaller facilities with female prisoners and female guards. Specific crimes. Category 1. Beatings and torture. Female guards routinely beat prisoners with whips, clubs, and bare hands. Irma Gress, Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen. Known as the Beast of Belsen and Beautiful Beast, age 18 to 21, during her service. Testimony describes her beating prisoners to death. Selected prisoners for gas chambers, used trained dogs to attack prisoners. Executed by British forces, age 22, in 1945. Survivor testimony about Garische. She would smile while beating us. She enjoyed it. She was worse than the male guards because she seemed to take personal pleasure in our suffering. Dorothea Binz, Ravensbrück. Started as guard at age 19, became chief overseer by age 22, described as sadistic beyond comprehension. Beat prisoners to death with leather whip. Participated in selection of prisoners for execution and medical experiments. Executed after the war, age 27, Elisabeth Volkenrath, Ravensbrück and Auschwitz. Camp leader at Auschwitz, women's camp. Directly participated in selections for gas chambers, supervised execution of prisoners, executed by British forces after the war. Category 2. Selections at extermination camps. Female guards participated in selections, choosing which prisoners went to forced labor and which to immediate death in gas chambers. Maria Mondl at Auschwitz-Birkenau. Women's camp. Oversaw selections at arrival ramp. Sent thousands directly to gas chambers. Survivors describe her as businesslike and efficient in mass murder. Showed no emotion while selecting children for death. Executed after the war. Survivor testimony. Mandel would stand there as we arrived. pointing left or right. Left meant immediate death. She pointed children left without hesitation. She was deciding who lived and who died, as if sorting mail. Female guards didn't operate gas chambers. Male SS did this, but they participated in the selection process and escorted women and children to their deaths. Category 3. Medical experiments. Female guards assisted in horrific medical experiments. At Ravensbrück, guards selected prisoners for experiments, held prisoners down during procedures without anesthesia, maintained the experiment blocks where victims were held, disposed of bodies when victims died. Experiments included testing sulfa drugs by deliberately infecting wounds, breaking and re-breaking bones to test healing, transplant experiments, sterilization experiments. Guards who assisted were complicit in torture and murder disguised as medicine. Category 4. Systematic murder. Some female guards directly murdered prisoners. Methods: beating to death, shooting. Some guards were armed later in the war. Drowning exposure, leaving prisoners outside in winter. Starvation, withholding food rations. Lethal injection, assisting doctors. Hermine Braunsteiner, the mayor of Majdanek, wore heavy boots with metal reinforcements, kicked prisoners to death, specifically targeting children. Testimony describes her trampling children to death, escaped to America after the war, later extradited and tried. Served prison time in Germany. Survivor testimony: she killed children by stomping on them. I saw her do it. She laughed. How can a human being do this to a child? Category 5. Theft and exploitation. Male guards systematically stole from prisoners. Personal belongings upon arrival. Food rations. Any valuables prisoners tried to hide. Even gold teeth pulled from corpses. This enriched guards personally and demonstrated complete dehumanization of victims. Category 6. Sexual violence and humiliation. Some female guards forced prisoners into sexual situations, forced nudity for inspection, humiliating examinations. In some cases, arranging prisoners for rape by male guards, or kapos, forced prostitution in camp brothels. This aspect is less documented than other crimes, but appears in survivor testimony. The worst cases. Some female guards gained particular notoriety for exceptional cruelty. Ilse Koch, the Witch of Buchenwald. Wife of Buchenwald, commandant, accused of selecting prisoners with tattoos to be killed. Skin used for lampshades, disputed by historians but reflects her reputation. Participated in torture and murder, committed suicide in prison after the war. Hertha Botha, the sadist of Stutthof. Guard at multiple camps, described by survivors as taking pleasure in cruelty. Convicted after the war, served 10 years. Louisa Dantz, Ravensbrück, Auschwitz, Malchow. Known for extreme brutality, killed prisoners by lethal injection. Convicted after the war, released after serving partial sentence. Survivor testimony from Gisela Perl, survivor and doctor at Auschwitz. The female guards were worse than the male guards in many ways. The men were brutal but businesslike. The women seemed to enjoy it. They would invent new ways to humiliate us, to hurt us. There was a personal quality to their cruelty that the men lacked. From Olga Lengyel, survivor. We feared the female guards more than the men. A male SS guard might kill you, but the women would torture you first. They seemed to hate us with a passion that went beyond following orders. From Primo Levi, discussing guards generally, including women. The worst cruelty was not that they killed us, but that they made us less than human first. They stole our dignity before they stole our lives. The question that haunts anyone studying female Nazi perpetrators is, why? How did ordinary women, mothers, daughters, sisters, become torturers and murderers? Explanations, not excuses. 1. Ordinariness of evil. Hannah Arendt, studying Adolf Eichmann's trial, coined the phrase, the banality of evil, the idea that great evil is often perpetrated by ordinary people following orders within systems. Female guards exemplified this. Most were not ideological fanatics or sadists before joining the SS system. The system transformed them. 2. Situational factors. Authority. Guards operated within a system that demanded cruelty. Orders came from above. Disobedience meant punishment. Peer pressure. Guard culture rewarded brutality. Showing mercy marked you as weak or unreliable. Dehumanization. Prisoners were systematically portrayed as subhuman, making cruelty psychologically easier. Normalization. What initially shocked guards became routine through repetition and social reinforcement. 3. Power dynamics. Many female guards came from powerless positions, working class, limited education, few opportunities. Suddenly, they had absolute power. Prisoners had to obey instantly or face death. This absolute power corrupted absolutely. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo's Stanford Prison Experiment, 1971, demonstrated how quickly ordinary people adopt cruel behavior when given power over others. Female guards demonstrated this in real-world circumstances with horrific consequences. 4. Gender and cruelty. Some historians have asked, were female guards more cruel than male guards? The evidence is mixed. Arguments they were worse. Some survivor testimony claims female guards were more personally cruel. Female guards had more direct contact with prisoners in daily life. Male SS typically supervised from distance. Personal nature of their cruelty, beatings, humiliation, versus impersonal mass murder by men. Arguments they were similar. Male SS guards committed equal or greater atrocities. Scale of male violence, operating gas chambers, mass shootings, exceeded female violence selection bias. Survivors remember particularly cruel individuals, regardless of gender consensus. Female guards were as capable of extreme cruelty as male guards. Gender did not predispose anyone to mercy or cruelty. The system created monsters regardless of sex. 5. Psychological profiles. Post-war psychological evaluations of female guards found common traits: authoritarian personality types, low empathy, high conformity to authority, emotional detachment. Some showed sadistic tendencies, but many showed no unusual psychological traits before service. The system created the behavior. Disturbing finding: most female guards showed no remorse after the war. They rationalized their behavior as following orders, or claimed prisoners deserved it. This suggests profound moral corruption that persisted after the system ended. 6. Ideological belief. Some guards genuinely believed Nazi ideology. The Jews, Roma, Poles, and others were subhuman threats. This ideological framework made cruelty seem not just acceptable, but necessary and righteous. But most guards showed limited ideological sophistication. They repeated Nazi propaganda, but didn't seem deeply committed to ideology. They participated more from conformity and opportunity than belief. Can we understand without excusing? Critical distinction. Understanding why. Excusing what? Explaining how ordinary women became perpetrators doesn't diminish their guilt. It helps us understand how genocides happen and how to prevent future ones. The danger of saying, "I would never." It's comforting to believe we would never participate in such evil.